You throw the phrase pick me around like it's an insult now. Like it's something embarrassing, something to laugh at. But I've been sitting with this idea and this question for a while now. Where did this even come from? Because I don't think women just invented the need to be chosen. I think they were trained into it for centuries even. And I think we forget how recent women's independence actually is. We're talking about societies where women couldn't own properties, couldn't earn their own money, couldn't legally exist outside of a husband in a lot of places. This wasn't an ancient thing, probably distant thing. This was happening in your grandmother's time. So think about what that does to a person. When your comfort, safety, your place in society, all of it depends on whether a man chooses you. You learn to be chosen. That's not validation, that's adaptation. That's a person trying to survive in a system they can't escape from it. But every era had its own version of what a desirable looked like. Corsets that crash organs, foot bending in China, skin lightening practices across Asia and African countries. Not to seem difficult, not intimidating, shrinking yourself enough to be picked. Different centuries, same instructions. Make yourself small enough so that someone, a man, chooses you. And society didn't just suggest this, it rewarded it. The women who fit the mold had easier lives. They are the ones who had the physical and economical advantages. That's how conditioning works across generations. Now, I want to be clear about something. None of this means putting other women down for male attention is okay. It's not. Losing yourself completely for someone else's approval is something worth examining. But there's a difference between calling out a behavior and understanding where it lives in people. And I think a lot of the mockery skips that second part entirely, the understanding part. But you can't raise generations of women inside systems where male approval was their survival and then act like it's a new thing when they start seeking for male attention. That's not how it works. So when I see the pick me conversation online, and I don't always see someone embarrassing or someone who just wants to be picked. Sometimes I see someone who was taught by her mother, who was taught by her mother, who was taught by a world that gave her the very few options, that her worth is expressed to be chosen. That's history still living through people who never even knew it got inside of them. Do you get what I mean? Maybe before we mock, we should understand first. And my goal here is always to dig inside the nuances of people and topics like this, because it's easier to look at someone and immediately throw off and judge them. It's easier to see someone who seemingly look like evil and declare they're evil. But it's not easy to sit with the idea that this person might be coming from a place that they had no option but to be who they are. And the pick-me culture that I see a lot of women discussing online, the minute I got to understand what it was, I knew immediately this is social conditioning that has happened for centuries. Because if you watch medieval movies, people or women, especially women, only women, used to do things to be chosen by a man, to have a good husband, so that they could be the missus of the house. They could be the madam of the house. They could have social prestige. That's when they were invited to other society clubs in town or in the city. They couldn't just work as a single lady and claim all those things. Those social statuses were attached to them being married, and they were to marry good men who could give them those social statuses. So they were able, or they were conditioned to do anything to be picked. So much so that now it has been passed down for generations and generations and generations. And even though we have the freedom to be whoever we are outside of another person, the condition still lives. Okay? And this is a place for thinking. This is a place where we digest topics and conversations, and we think outside of what has been normally curated for us, right? So I want you to sit with this pick me idea and sit with this pick me conversations that's been going on and ask yourself, am I a pick me? First of all, how did it get in here? Second of all, and how do I learn to live outside of male validation? Even if I'm married, even if I'm in a healthy relationship, even if I will get married one day, you should have an independent view of yourself outside of another human being. That's the goal here. Okay, not to mock these women, but to bring to their attention that what they're doing is unconscious and it needs to be unlearned. And actually, it is harmful for other women too, and even to themselves. Until you sit with yourself and let it assimilate into your system and into the deeper parts of your mind, you will never know how harmful this attitude really is. So, I hope to see you in my next video. For now, share this with someone who you think needs to understand, and also engage so that we can get this to as many women as possible. And subscribe if you're new here, because this is what we do here. We talk about topics like this and we give ourselves time and grace to think about them and unlearn and relearn and throw out what needs to be thrown and take what needs to be taken and evolve over time, even as we grow into intentional, healthy Christians or even human beings. Okay? See you in my next one.